Hey everyone, welcome back to Shattering Ceilings. It's Lauren.
And Megan with our first episode for 2023.
Yay! I hope you all had an amazing end to 2022 as you rung in 2023. It's pretty exciting. I love the
I
new
know.
year.
I can't believe that it's we're recording this the last week of 2022, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe that
Mm-hmm.
this is our first episode of 2023. How is it already here? We've
Right?
been doing this now for like 6 months,
I
right? Because we
know.
started in July.
I know. It's like, it is. It's crazy. We're halfway to our anniversary.
I know. My gosh. I mean, usually people celebrate, right? I feel like we should take ourselves out to dinner.
We
6 months.
should, and we can do over Zoom. Since you're in Louisiana and I'm here. Maybe we should do a surprise trip, actually. That's what we'll
Oh,
do.
that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta do
Mm-hmm.
something. We keep talking about these trips, you guys. So if you're hearing this, hold us accountable.
Yeah, right? Or if you have a suggestion of where we should go,
Oh
'cause
yeah, even
I feel like
better.
there's a lot of places I haven't been in the States. Preferably
Me
somewhere
too.
warm.
Yeah. Ugh. It's been so cold. It's been crazy here. I don't know about New Jersey, but in Louisiana, they don't bury the pipes as deeper. Or that came
Oh,
out wrong. They don't bury the pipes as deep. We're closer, or we're below sea level, I think, even where we're at.
yeah.
And it's been like 11 degrees outside. So everybody in the city is keeping their water on a drip so it doesn't freeze over. So we have
Mm-hmm.
like zero water pressure. It's
Oh,
crazy. Zero
wow.
hot water. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Showers have
mean,
been scarce. I stink right now. Just FYI.
I just showered, so, but no, like, it's been, I think it was like, it felt like below or -4. What am I saying? Jesus. But yeah, it was super cold and like I feel like my heat is just like running and running and running. And yeah, the pipes, like, it does
Constant.
worry me because, like, I was just saying to you, we have a crawl space in some areas of the house and then we have the basement in other places. So the pipes underneath the
Mm,
crawl space, like, oh, I worry about that a little bit.
right. Oh yeah. Leave them on a drip.
Yeah, I think they even like said that on the news or something to leave your water on a
Yeah.
drip or something. So
There's a lot
pretty
of people that
crazy.
haven't here, and it's been crazy to see, because they burst, right?
Hmm.
So you'll be driving down the street and all of a sudden you'll get to someone's house and just like the front half of their yard or all their bushes are just covered in these crazy icicles
Oh
where the water
no.
it's
Yeah.
nuts.
Super
It
bad
looks like going
timing
through
too.
Wonderland.
Like
Yeah.
nobody wants to come out and fix that kind of thing around the
No, and we're under a
holidays.
boil alert. So we had everybody over yesterday for Christmas and we don't do water bottles. So my family's like, "Where's all your water bottles?" I'm like, "Let me start boiling water
Oh
because we have
no.
nothing to drink." Yeah, it's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. Yeah, I've
I
never had
know.
that because we have well water. So like I don't think we have that
Right.
issue. I don't
No, we
know.
were the same way in New Jersey. So
Hmm.
my brain just doesn't even compute that yet
Yeah.
until you have, 15 people at your house and you're like, "Ooh, I hope everybody likes to be thirsty."
It's all right.
But
You'll get it down. It's your first year
oh
hosting
yeah.
down there.
Oh yeah. We scrunched together, enough water bottles. Everybody seemed to have a couple in their car. I'm like, "Oh good. Everybody else is
There we
prepared. This is
go.
great."
That's so crazy.
But
Yeah.
back on track.
I know. We tend to get off track pretty easily. Last week
Yeah.
we talked about reflection, right? And like really
Mhm.
what that looks like and not rushing through it because so many of us, including myself, I used to do that, but learning to take my time, right? Good things take time.
Mhm.
So we talked about how to reflect and to really think about, 2022, what we liked about it, what we didn't, what things that we want to implement into the new year, things that maybe we want to get rid of, right? So
Mhm.
it is January 3rd. You may or may not have been doing some of that, right?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully so, right? We've all had a little time off. We've
Hmm.
been around family, have more time to think, reminisce about the year.
Yeah, maybe I've been triggered a couple times. Maybe realize some things that we need to also work on for
Yeah, I mean, Laura
2023.
and I were just talking about this. She's like, "Woo, I'm off my schedule. Like I'm feeling
Hmm.
a little anxiety, right?" So
Yeah.
before we hopped on today, we were talking about some ways that maybe next year can go a little different. Because I think you and I are similar in this, that we're like,
Hmm.
anything anybody wants to do, we're like, yes, I'm in. Yes, I'm in. Let's do this. Let's do
Hmm.
this. We're wanting to
Hmm.
entertain. We're wanting to make sure everybody has a good time. And we can forget about ourselves a lot in that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like not taking the time to step away and take a deep breath or
Right.
exercise.
Or do my exercise routine. Just like little things, reading, journaling, doing my green shot, like taking the
Mhm.
right supplements. And then I'm like, oh, why do I feel so bad? Like so bloated. I'm like, it can't be everything I'm eating. Cause I mean, yes, it's also an issue, but at the same time, I'm not doing all the other things too, right? It's so easy to get off track.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's cool to reflect. I mean, to keep on that thing of reflecting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, like in the moment, right? Like, oh, I'm feeling yucky. What is missing? What's showing up is
Hmm.
missing. Like, what a
Hmm.
great tool to have that level of like presence and observation of yourself. Because I feel like a lot of what we do is just self-study, right?
Hmm.
You're noticing what works, you're noticing what doesn't.
Hmm.
What do you want to call in more of? What do you want to let go of? That's a lot of what last week's episode was about.
Right.
And now we've made it to the new year. So hopefully you've thought about that a little bit. And maybe you're starting to shift your thinking into where am I going?
Right.
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 And start to think of like, put those things, like, take it from like, okay, I want to let this go. And in letting this go, I'm creating space for what? What do
Hmm.
we want to be different? Right.
Hmm.
And starting to make that list, not just jumping into those New Year's resolutions, but like really giving them some thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I think obviously being intentional is key.
Mm-hmm.
When you are creating maybe goals or just like a direction in general, you don't have to know exactly how you're going to get there. But we talked about even last week too, and we've been talking about the vision has to be there. Like starting
Yes.
with the end in mind, really, of where you want to end up at the end of 2023. And the
And then working
how,
right back.
yeah, the how is going to come along, and different people may help you with that, and you may not even know who they are yet. Right?
Yeah. Which brings us to our
Mhm.
Voxer group. It officially started 2 days
Yes.
ago when you guys hear this.
Mhm.
And it's our vision group. So it's a
Mhm.
whoever, whatever your age, you know, gender, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If you are a human in this world and you would like to be a part of a community that is practicing speaking that vision into the world
Mhm.
and you know, even guiding or getting guidance
Mhm.
from other people in the group as to how we can make that happen. Lauren just mentioned like the who, right? We may not necessarily know how it's going to happen,
Mhm.
but who will we meet along the way? Who do we already know that could be helpful or that you could help,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think keeping that in mind, right? Like being hopeful about like I just posted something the other day about just think about how awesome it is that there's so many amazing people that you haven't met yet that you're going to love like so much, that
Yeah.
have really just brought either joy or um just like bigger vision or different ideas into your world. Like I know
New
for me, yeah,
perspectives.
new perspectives. It's so, so important. And I think this Voxer group is just going to be an amazing way for people to, again, be able to really speak that vision, but also encourage each other, maybe get some ideas, maybe make some awesome connections where we could even
Yeah.
help you or they could help you with vision, right? And creating that, having that come to reality.
Yeah. So if you haven't signed up for it yet, please do. And I
Hmm.
want to use Laura and I, you guys may have already heard this because we have talked about it a few times as an example of this. In
Hmm.
October of 2020, Lauren reached out to me about meal prep.
Hmm.
Okay. And now look at us 2 years later.
Right?
Like,
It's pretty
truly,
crazy.
it is like
Uh-huh.
you just never know. I bet she never thought I'm going to message this chick and
Yeah.
see, we're going to start a podcast.
Right?
Like that didn't connect.
No.
So let yourself be open to something new and
Hmm.
do it with us in a nice, safe space where everybody's welcome, where there's no judgment. There's like, if there's any rule for this Voxer group, guys, is that you go in without judgment.
And
We're
you
all
be
there to be supportive
nice.
of each other. Yeah, be
Hmm.
nice. Mind your
Yeah.
P's and Q's.
Right, right, right,
Um,
right. We can all be open and give insight without being a dick about it, basically. So,
yeah. Yeah. And that may be where you're coming to grow, right? Like we've
right.
talked about this recently. Like I can be a critical person.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is something that you resonated with, maybe coming into this group is your opportunity to see people from all walks of life, meet people
Yeah.
with all different perspectives, and challenge that criticalness in
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Like, okay, here is this judgment coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's deal with it differently. Let's notice a judgment, call it out in the group. Like, hey, I'm noticing that I'm feeling judgmental about, X, Y, and Z. Like,
Mm-hmm. I love that.
we can support each other there. Like, it's just really a group to like for growth,
Right.
right?
Right.
Vision in mind. How are we
Mm-hmm.
growing in 2023?
I love
So if
that.
you haven't done that, it'll be in our show notes. We
Yes.
created a landing
Meg
page.
actually created a landing page and it is beautiful. She did a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At the end, I was like, it looks like a kindergartner did this, but
No, it
you've got to start
doesn't.
messy.
It's
We're getting it
simple.
done.
It's simple, but that's all we need. We don't need anything fancy. We
Yeah.
just need a place to go to that has all of our things.
Yes. So check it out.
Hmm.
The link is in our show notes, and it's also going to be in our bio on Instagram. We will have had that put up by the time you guys are hearing this.
Hmm.
And join. There's no commitment. So if you join
Right.
it, you read some of the boxes and decide it's not for you,
Hmm. You
that's
can leave
okay.
the group too. I mean, it's not like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not, obligated into staying for the whole year if you don't feel like it's for you.
Yeah. So if you're curious, come on.
Yeah.
And you can join it anytime. So
Yeah.
maybe you're not sure about it today, and 2 weeks from now you decide you're interested in it. Come on.
Right. I love that. So speaking of, going into the new year with maybe some intentions in mind or some ways that you want to really expand, we have a
Mm.
great series coming up of interviews, right, over the next few weeks, possibly a few months. I think we're going to definitely go
Yeah.
into February with this, of women entrepreneurs that have really well, they all blow my mind. The way that
Yeah.
their mind ticks, I'm like, wow, I would just love to be in your head, you
Yeah,
know?
and they all have different strengths with this, which is really cool. Like we've done a
Hmm.
couple of the interviews already, and
Hmm.
I feel like at the end of them, I'm like, ooh, this is different than I would have thought about doing it. And it's
Hmm.
different for every interview we do. So it's
Yeah, they
like,
are.
I'm excited for you guys to hear them.
Yeah, and what I love about each one so far is that a lot of them kind of we're faced with a crossroads in front of them where it's
Mm,
like I either stay over in the same lane and kind of settle, or I'm going to step out and take that leap of faith like you said, Meg, and try something different, really go after that passion, right?
hmm.
And create something new. They've all
Yeah.
created something new, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. And like these are women that are at a point where they're pretty settled in their business. These aren't new business ventures. They're things that they are
Mm-hmm.
successful at,
Mm-hmm.
at different degrees. And one of our first interviews coming up, Cassandra, like she still has another business that she's running. So she's
Mm-hmm.
now like owns multiple businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We have one person that was hit with a crossroads, like Laura said, she was at a pressure point. She had to
Mm-hmm.
make a decision. The company she was working for was shutting down. And
Mm-hmm.
then she turned it into something fucking incredible. I can't wait for
Uh-huh.
you to hear.
Oh yeah.
Oh, she's a
Linda's a
little
rock
baby too.
star.
She just turned 30.
I
Yeah.
know. And then yeah, Amanda is another one. I actually so she created the
Mm.
journal 60 Days Away, which has been featured on the Today Show. It's sold out on Amazon, so many amazing things. And her story is amazing. It's I'm not going to tell it for her, but it's just one that's done a 180 completely. I just started her journal today, which was nice, to, not having to wait, to start it at a certain point. I was just like, yep, well,
Mm.
I'm going to start today because my other journal ended. So I'm going to go into this one. And it's different from any of the journals that I've used before. Um, and it has a lot of intentionality in it, which I really like. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, I'm excited to see where I am 60 days from now, since that's
Yeah.
how long it will take me to do it.
And speaking of intention, something that
Mhm.
I think Laura and I were discussing this before we got on is
Mhm.
that something that's really special about these women that you'll hear is that they are making business decisions with a lot of intention. So in our last
Mhm.
episode, we talked about like wellness, right? You're accomplishing goals. Maybe you're really great in relationships, but other areas of your life are suffering, or your,
Mhm.
career is really taking off, but your mental health is suffering. Like these are women who you will get to hear firsthand are being very intentional with those decisions that they're
Mm.
making
Mhm.
to do this with wellness in mind,
Yeah.
right? Like they're taking care of their home life, they're taking care of their mental health. Not to say that that is constant all the time, but
Right.
it's something that they're intentional about no matter what. They may have points of being in a grind, but they're
Mhm.
not grinding all the time because they know that they don't want to burn out.
Right. The decisions that they're making have to be aligned with their
Mm-hmm.
bigger vision, which again, it goes into
Yes,
the theme
that
of what we're
vision.
doing, right? And so if it's not aligned, if it doesn't match, their career goals, their family goals, their health goals, they're not doing it. And again, we talked about boundaries a lot over the last few months,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it just really shows when you get intentional with your boundaries and the decisions you're making and keeping them in alignment with who you are or where you're going, that's when the magic happens. And even though it can
Mm.
be like Lindsay said in the interview, like she's like, it was hard sometimes. Like, did I want to go out and party? Like, hell yeah, but I had to remember, like, no, like stay the course with the end result in mind. And I thought that was just really like great to hear, because I think so many of us, and again, we talked about this in the last episode, there's times where we'll start something, and if we're not seeing the results as quickly as we'd like, you know, that vision can shrink or get clouded, you know?
Yeah, or that squirrel comes, right? Like there's that
Mhm.
distractor that pops up. And I mean, I'm so famous for this. Like I'm like, "Ooh,
You're
that looks
so
fun. Let me
famous
do
for
that." I mean,
it.
so
So
famous. You
funny.
should look me up. I'll Google for it. No, but in my it is so true for me though. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I should be doing this. Like this
Mhm.
is what's going to keep me on track, but
Mhm.
this seems really good right now." And not letting
Mhm.
those distractors pop in and take you, off course.
I know.
Or when they do, hopping back on quickly. That's another thing Lindsay talks about. And I mean,
Mhm.
this isn't a recap. I feel like we could talk about it all day long.
I
But
know.
man, I'm so excited for you guys to hear these interviews. And in between those interviews, we're gonna have, just like with our last series, you'll get an interview one week, then you're gonna have a week of Lauren and I, where we're gonna be sprinkling in, some intention setting for the New Year's, especially in January,
Mhm.
and maybe different practices. We don't know what that's gonna look like, but
Mhm.
just little bits of us sprinkled in.
I
Um,
mean, we always seem to find the right things at the right time, and I think that's the other part of it too, is like, you know, if you're looking for a super structured type of atmosphere, like this probably isn't necessarily your jam. Like, yes, we have like plans in play, but I do love like that me and Meg have that like freedom, which is also, I guess, part of having like a podcast, right? Like,
mhm.
to let things like come into our lives that we feel like are worthy talking about. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think things that pop up in
Yeah, I
our
mean, we're
lives.
constantly learning and
Mhm.
chatting, right? Discovering new things. So as things come up for us, and I mean, you guys heard that last year where we were like, oh, we're
Mhm.
going to do this podcast, we're going to do this next. And then we didn't because other things popped up that seemed to make more sense in that moment. And we're
Yeah.
really, sinking into that feminine energy, if you will, letting go of that need for
Right?
structure. So when we first started, we had some structure. We're like, we
We
need to
d
have our first 10 episodes in place and know where we're going.
Yeah, yeah.
And now we're just feeling it out and it's working.
Yeah, and I do. I think that is, like, the ultimate test of, like, leaning into that feminine energy, right? Like, really trusting,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I said that I think I did tell you guys, that's my word of the year is trust. To
Mhm.
really, like, again, because I am, like, we've talked about this a million times, like, I'm the type that wants to bully my way through all the things and, like, kinda, like, not force things, but, like, "This needs to get done here," or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It causes, like, right now, even, like, if it's not getting done, it's almost like it's causing, like, inner conflict or anxiety in myself, and I notice it's because, like, those expectations I may have, so I need to lean into that trust a little more. So,
Mm. I need to
mhm,
come up with my word for 2023.
yeah,
I'm not even there yet.
but that's okay, and we talked about that last time
Totally.
too. Yeah, like, you guys don't have to have it all set in stone right now, because you will change, things will change, all kinds of things in life will pop up, where you'll see like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I think I gotta work on this now," and that's okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And just trust. Trust that it'll show up, right? We were scared that we would run out of content, and now we're trusting that the content will reveal itself and it's working. And it's a
It
great practice for
has.
us in like leaning into that feminine energy, right? Like
It's true. That is true. It's all part of the
in a
plan,
place
right?
that's comfortable. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we've got coming, guys.
Mhm.
Trying to think, is there anything else that we want to share?
I don't think so. Just, like, definitely check out the new landing page that Meg made. It's gonna be in the show notes. It's gonna be in our bio.
Mhm.
You can find, like, we actually have a YouTube channel you can find there too if you actually wanna see us and the bloopers in between.
Yeah.
'Cause what you hear is edited. Not heavily, but it's edited out
Minimally, but
something.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you wanna see, you know, our interviewees and us or whatever, check out our, YouTube page, and there's a couple other links on there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Until
Awesome.
next time, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.